Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books, where we get to associate with the liberated soul who single-handedly came to the Western India in 1965 and in 12 short years spread Krishna consciousness all around the world, beginning at the age of 70. I don't think we have any 70-year-olds in the room except for me. Therefore, I may be the only one who actually, two of us. No. Yeah. Oh, give me a Claire, you're not a day over 35. That is it? You're not 35? Well, Jack Benny, it was always 39, year after year after year, Well, that's before your time. Okay, so we do have more people in the room that understands just how great Prabhupada is for having done what he did at that age. Okay, welcome to all of you out there in cyberspace. Srila Sanatana Goswami has compiled a very wonderful glorification of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, the book that we're going to read right now. Srimad-Bhagavatam Mahima Stotram, and will teach us just how wonderful this book is. And and it goes like this. Sarva Shastra Dipiyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaya Sarva Lokaika Trikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad-Bhagavata Prabhu Kali Mandurita Nitya Shri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad-Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Shri Krishna. Paramananda Padaya Prema Varsha Rayate Sarvada Sarvaseyaya Shri Krishnaya Namaste. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Shri Krishna himself. Madhika Bando Matsangin Madguru Madmahadana Madniskaraka Madbhagya Madhananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu Sadhutayayin Atimicho Chatakara Nanamunchara Jinmam Pringa Reptanayospura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear my heart and my voice for your pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So we reached the 8th canto of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. It is entitled the Manus. The first chapter is entitled the Manus, Administrators of the Universe. First of all, let me offer my humble, respectful obeisances under the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, Sri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. Sometime in the year 1935, when His Divine Grace was staying at Radhakund, I went to see him from Bombay. At that time, he gave me many important instructions in regarding to constructing temples and publishing books. He personally told me that publishing books is more important than constructing temples. Of course, those same instructions remained within my mind for many years. In 1944, I began publishing my Back to Godhead. And when I retired from family life in 1958, I began publishing Srimad-Bhagavatam, my Back to Godhead. And when I retired from family life in 1958, I began publishing Srimad-Bhagavatam in Delhi. When 3 parts of Srimad-Bhagavatam had been published in India, I then started for the United States of America on the 13th of August, 1965. I am now continuously trying to publish books as suggested by my spiritual master. Now in this year, 1976, I have completed the 7th canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam, and a summary of the 10th canto has already been published as Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Still, the 8th canto, 9th canto, 10th canto, 11th canto, and 12th canto are yet to be published. On this occasion, therefore, I am praying to my spiritual master to give me strength to finish this work. I am neither a great scholar nor a great devotee. I am simply a humble servant of my spiritual master, and to the best of my ability, I am trying to please him by publishing these books with the cooperation of my disciples in America. Fortunately, scholars all over the world are appreciating these publications. Let us cooperatively publish more and more volumes of Srimad-Bhagavatam just to please His Divine Grace, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Very personal, from Prabhupada, direct. Very personal. This first chapter of the 8th canto may be summarized as a description of 4 Manus, namely Swayambhuva, Swarochisha, Uttama, and Tamasa. After hearing descriptions of the dynasty of Swayambhuva Manu until the end of the 7th canto, Maharaj Parikshit desired to know about other Manus. He desired to understand how the Supreme Personality of Godhead descends, not only in the past, but at the present and in the future, and how he acts in various pastimes as Manu. Since Parikshit Maharaj was eager to know all this, Shukadeva Goswami gradually described all the Manus, beginning with the 6 Manus who had appeared in the past. The first Manu was Swayambhuva Manu. His 2 daughters, namely Akuti and Devahuti, gave birth to 2 sons named Yagya and Kapila, respectively. Because Shukadeva Goswami had already described the activities of Kapila in the 3rd canto, he now described the activities of Yagya. The original Manu, along with his wife Shatarupa, went to the forest to practice austerities on the bank of the river Sunanda. They practiced austerities for 100 years, and then Manu, in trance, formed prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Rakshasas and Asuras then attempted to devour him, but Yagya, accompanied by his sons, the Yamas and the demigods, killed them. Then Yagya personally took the post of Indra, the king of the heavenly planets. The second Manu, whose name was Swarochisha, was the son of Agni, and his sons were headed by Dyumat, Sushena, and Roshimat. In the age of this Manu, Rochana became Indra, the ruler of the heavenly planets, and there were many demigods headed by Tushita. There were also many saintly persons, such as Urja and Stamba. Among them was Vedashira, whose wife Tushita gave birth to Vibhu. Vibhu instructed 80,000 Drithavratas, or saintly persons, on self-control and austerity. Uttama, the son of Priyavrata, was the 3rd Manu. Among his sons were Pavana, Srinjaya, and Yagyahotra. During the reign of this Manu, the sons of Vishishta, headed by Pramada, became the 7 saintly persons. The Satyas, Devashrutas, and Badras became the demigods, and Satyajit became Indra, From the womb of Sunirta, the wife of Dharma, the Lord appeared as Satyasena, and he killed all the yakshas and rakshasas who were fighting with Satyajit. Tamasa, the brother of the third Manu, was the fourth Manu, and he had 10 sons, including Prithu, Kyati, Nara, and Ketu. During his reign, the Satyakas, Haris, and Viras, and others were demigods, and 7 great saints were headed by Jyotidhamma, and Trishika became Indra. Harimeda begot his son, named Hari, in the womb of his wife Harini. This Hari, an incarnation of God, saved the devotee Gajendra. This incident is described as Gajendra Mokshana. At the end of this chapter, Maharaj Parikshit particularly asks about this incident. So for you newcomers, this appears like a little historic and all these names that we've never heard before. I mean, they may seem a little, why so many names? Well, this book is the history of the universe, and everybody's actually interested in knowing where they came from, their lineage. So this is where all of us came from. And so not only that, but the names are, in the history of this universe, which is from beginning to end, will be 311 trillion years, according to our calculation.
It just wasn't as good.
It was working, but it wasn't. It was mystic power. You were like.
They heard from the phone.
Oh, they heard from the phone, really? But I bet they didn't hear as clearly as they're hearing now. Okay, Hare Krishna. Luckily, we have a retired techie to straighten you out. Okay, so hearing these names, these are transcendental names. And just by hearing them, even if you don't understand everything yet, just by hearing these names and hearing of the events that happen as the universe is unfolding, we become purified, our hearts become purified, and we'll make spiritual advancement. Hare Krishna. Text 1. King Parikshit said, "O my Lord, my spiritual master, now I have fully heard from your grace about the dynasty of Swayambhuva Manu. But there are also other Manus, and I want to hear about their dynasties. Kindly describe them to us." Text 2. O learned Brahmana, Shukadev Goswami, the great learned persons who were completely intelligent describe the activities and appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead during the various manvantaras. We are very eager to hear about these narrations. Kindly describe them. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has different varieties of incarnations. The Guna avatars, Manvantara avatars, Leela avatars, and Yuga avatars, all of which are described in the Shastras. Without reference to the Shastras, there can be no question of accepting anyone as an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, as especially mentioned here, Grinanti Kavaya, the descriptions of various incarnations are accepted by great learned scholars with perfect intelligence. At the present time, especially in India, so many rascals are claiming to be incarnations, and people are being misled. Therefore, the identity of an incarnation should be confirmed by the descriptions of the Shastras and by wonderful activities. As described in this verse, by the word mahiyasa, the activities of an incarnation are not ordinary magic or jugglery, but are wonderful activities. Thus, any incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead must be supported by the statements of the Shastra and must actually perform wonderful activities. Parikshit Maharaj
was eager to hear about the Manus of different ages. There are 14 Manus during a day of Brahma, and the age of Brahma lasts for 71 yugas. Thus, there are thousands of Manus during the life of Brahma. So those who are new at this, we are now in the Kali Yuga, and this age lasts for approximately 432,000 years. And the age before it lasted twice as long, the Dwapara Yuga. The age before that lasts 3 times as long. And the age before that, Satya Yuga, is 4 times as long. So the total of those 4 yugas can make up a Dibya Yuga. And it is the basic cycle that all other larger cycles of time are calculated. So a Divya Yuga is 4,300,000 years. 1,000 of those makes 1 day of Lord Brahma. You got anybody can do that in the head? Not probably not. Then that same time is his night. That's 12 hours. Then same amount of time is his night. That's 1 day, Brahma. 8,600,000,000 years is 1 day and night of Brahma. He lives 100 years. Anyway, I already did the calculation for you. You don't have to worry. It's 311 trillion, 80 billion years. That's the life of Brahma and the duration of this cosmic manifestation. Just like we have a certain duration of life in this body, everyone, nobody's going to live forever in this body. The soul lives forever, but the bodies come and go. And the person who has the largest lifespan is Lord Brahma, and his is 311 trillion, 80 billion years. So all these personalities that we're talking about are living in a day of Brahma. And there's, what does it say? 14 Manus in a day of Brahma. 8,600,000,000 years divided by 14. Yeah. It's inconceivable. And therefore, those who are uninformed and not realized think that it's just a myth. And therefore, they're pawning off certain scientific theories to be absolute truth and rejecting the actual history of the universe as it's being brought down to us, person after person after person. Just like we have never seen our great-great-great-great-grandfather, but we know he's alive. Why? Because our mother and father told us, or our grandfather told us, or whatever. So like that, the history of the universe has been told through all these personalities. So what we're hearing is not just jnana, or information content, or knowledge, but it's actually vigyan. Vigyan means realized knowledge. Persons who have actually experienced it, passing it down, and now we have it in the form of Srimad-Bhagavatam. Text 3. O learned Brahmana, kindly describe to us whatever activities the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who created this cosmic manifestation, has performed in the past manvantaras, is performing at present, and will perform in future manvantaras. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said that both He and the other living entities present on the battlefield, this is the battlefield, battlefield of Kurukshetra. This is Krishna instructing Arjuna just before the battle, Kurukshetra, 5,000 years ago. In Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said that both He and other living entities present on the battlefield had existed in the past, they existed at present, and they will continue to exist in the future. Past, present, and future always exist, both for the Supreme Personality of Godhead and for ordinary living entities. Nityo nityanam chaitanas chaitananam Kathopanishad 2.2.13. Both the Lord and the living entities are eternal and sentient. But the difference is that the Lord is unlimited, whereas the living entities are limited. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the creator of everything. And although the living entities are not created but exist with the Lord eternally, their bodies are created. Whereas the Supreme Lord's body is never created. There is no difference between the Supreme Lord and his body, but the conditioned soul, although eternal, is different from his body. Text 4. Shukadeva Goswami said, in the present kalpa, there have already been 6 Manus. I have described to you Swayambhuva Manu and the appearance of many demigods. In this kalpa of Brahma, Swayambhuva is the first Manu. Text 5. Swayambhuva Manu had 2 daughters named Akuti and Devahuti. From their wombs, the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared as 2 sons named Yagyamurti and Kapila, respectively. These sons were entrusted with preaching about religion and knowledge. Purport. Devahuti's son was known as Kapila, and Akuti's son was known as Yagyamurti. Both of them taught about religion and philosophical knowledge. Text 6. O best of the Kurus, I have already described in the 3rd canto the activities of Kapila, the son of Devahuti. Now I shall describe the activities of Yagyapati, the son of Akuti. Text 7. Swayambhuva Manu, the husband of Shatarupa, was by nature not at all attached to enjoyment of the senses. Thus he gave up his kingdom of sense enjoyment and entered the forest with his wife to practice austerities. Purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 4.2, Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshiyo viduhu. The supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. All the Manus were perfect kings. They were Rajarshis. In other words, although they held posts as kings of the world, they were as good as great saints. Swayambhuva Manu, for example, was the emperor of the world, yet he had no desire for sense gratification. This is the meaning of monarchy. The king of the country or the emperor of the empire must be so trained that by nature he renounces sense gratification. Should we compare that to what's going on today? Okay. It is not that because one becomes king, he should not necessarily spend money for sense gratification. Oops. As soon as the kings became degraded, spending money for sense gratification, they were lost. Similarly, at the present moment, monarchy having been lost, the people have created democracy, which is also failing. Now, by the laws of nature, the time is coming when dictatorship will put the citizens into more and more difficulty. This was written in 1976. If the king or dictator individually or the members of government collectively cannot maintain the state or kingdom according to the rules of Manu Samhita, certainly their government will not endure. Text 8. O scion of Bharat, after Swayambhuva Manu had thus entered the forest with his wife, he stood on one leg on the bank of the river Sunanda, and in this way, with only one leg touching the earth, he performed great austerities for 100 years. While performing these austerities, he spoke as follows. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments that the word anvaha means that he chanted or murmured to himself, not that he lectured to anyone. Text 9. Lord Manu said, the Supreme Being has created this material world of animation. It is not that he was created by this material world. When everything is silent, the Supreme Being stays awake as a witness. The living entity does not know him, but he knows everything. Purport. Here is a distinction between the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the living entities. Nityo nityanam chaitanas chaitananam. According to the Vedic version, the Lord is the Supreme Eternal, the Supreme Living Being. The difference between the Supreme Being and the ordinary living being is that when this material world is annihilated, all the living beings remain silent, in oblivion, in a dreaming or unconscious condition, whereas the Supreme Being stays awake as the witness of everything. This material world is created, it stays for some time, and then it is annihilated. Throughout these changes, however, the Supreme Being remains awake. In the material condition of all living entities, there are 3 stages of dreaming. When the material world is awake and put in working order, this is a kind of dream, a waking dream. When the living entities go to sleep, they dream again. And when unconscious, at the time of annihilation, when this material world is unmanifested, they enter another stage of dreaming. At any stage in the material world, therefore, they are all dreaming. In the spiritual world, however, everything is awake. Text 10. Within this universe, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in His Super Soul feature, is present everywhere, wherever there are animate or inanimate beings. Therefore, one should accept only that which is allotted to him. One should not desire to infringe upon the property of others. So imagine what's happening, how far we've deviated from this, when only a few men in the world hold 90% of the resources or the wealth. How far we've gone away. Purport. Having described the situation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as transcendental, Swayambhuva Manu, for the instruction of the sons and grandsons in his dynasty, is now describing all the property of the universe as belonging to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Manu's instructions are not only for his sons and grandsons, but for all human society. The word man, or in Sanskrit, Manusya, has been derived from the name Manu. In this way, Sanskrit, in the original language, is the root of all languages of the world. What is the word man in Spanish? Huh?
Said man?
The word man in Spanish? Hombre. In French? Homme. Yeah, el homme. Manu. In English it's man. In Sanskrit it's Manu. It's all coming from the same root. And many words are like that. The word man, or in Sanskrit Manusya, has been derived from the name Manu, for all the members of human society are descendants of the original Manu. Manu is also mentioned in Bhagavad Gita 4.1, where the Lord says, Imam vivasute yogam proktavan ahamavyayam vivaswan manave praha manur ikshva kave bharit. I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god, Vivaswan. There's a chair up there. Do you want a chair? Or you want to sit here? Okay. We got a cult going on here. These are all the languages. You can't get in here unless you know how to do these things. Okay. I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god Vivaswan. Then Vivaswan instructed it to Manu, the father of mankind. Then Manu, in turn, instructed it to Ikshvaku. Swayambhuva Manu and Vivaswata Manu have similar duties. Vivaswata Manu was born of the sun god, Vivaswan, and his son was Ikshvaku, the king of the earth. Since Manu is understood to be the original father of humanity, human society should follow his instructions. Swayambhuva Manu instructs that whatever exists, not only in the spiritual world, but even within the material world, is the property of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is present everywhere as the super consciousness. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 13.3, Chetragyam chapi mam vidi sarva chetreshu bharata. In every field, or in other words, in every body, the Supreme Lord is existing as the Super Soul. The individual soul is given a body in which to live and act according to the instructions of the Supreme Person, and therefore the Supreme Person also exists within every body. We should not think that we are independent. Rather, we should understand that we are allotted a certain portion of the total property of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This understanding will lead to perfect communism. Communists think in terms of their own nations, but the spiritual communism instructed here is not only nationwide but universal. Nothing belongs to any nation or any individual person, but everything belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the meaning of this verse. Atma vasyam idam vishwam. Whatever exists within this universe is the property of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The modern communistic theory and also the idea of the United Nations can be reformed, indeed rectified, by the understanding that everything belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord is not a creation of our intelligence. Rather, He has created us. Dun, 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 dun. Atma vasyam idam vishwam. Isha vasyam idam sarvam. This universal communism can solve all the problems of the world. One should learn from Vedic literature that one's body is also not the property of the individual soul, but is given to the individual soul according to his karma. Karmana daiva netrena jantur deho papatyaye. The 8,400,000 different bodily forms are machines. Oh look, it's Jorge, Bhakta Jorge. Please come. Just came back from Mayapur.
Just arrived.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Nice to see you. You look purified.
I hope so.
The 8,400,000 different bodily forms are machines given to the individual soul. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 1861. Ishwarat sarvabhutanam riddhisher junatishtati brahmayam sarvabhutani yantrarudani mayaya. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy. The Lord, as the Supersoul, sits in everyone's heart and observes the various desires of the individual soul. The Lord is so merciful that He gives the living entity the opportunity to enjoy varieties of desires in suitable bodies, which are nothing but machines. Yantradu nani mayaya. These machines are manufactured by the material ingredients of the external energy, and thus the living entity enjoys or suffers according to his desires. This opportunity is given by the Supersoul. Everything belongs to the Supreme, and therefore one should not usurp another's property. We have a tendency to manufacture many things. Especially nowadays, we are building skyscrapers and developing other material facilities. We should know, however, that the ingredients of the skyscrapers and machines cannot be manufactured by anyone but the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The whole world is nothing but a combination of the 5 material elements. Tejovari mridam yata vinimaya. A skyscraper is a transformation of earth, water, and fire. Earth and water are combined and burnt into bricks by fire, and a skyscraper is essentially a tall construction of bricks or concrete. Although the bricks may be manufactured by man, the ingredients of bricks are not. Of course, man, as a manufacturer, may accept a salary from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is stated here. Tena chaktena bunjita. One may construct a big skyscraper, but neither the constructor, the merchant, nor the worker can claim proprietorship. Proprietorship belongs to the person who has spent for the building. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has manufactured water, earth, air, fire, and sky, and one can use these and take a salary, tena chaktena bunjita. However, one cannot claim proprietorship. This is perfect communism. Our tendency to construct great buildings should be used only for constructing large and valuable temples in which to install the deity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then our desire for construction will be fulfilled. Since all property belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, everything should be offered to the Lord, and we should take only prasad, tena tyaktena bunjita. We should not fight among ourselves to take more than we need. As Narada said to Maharaj Yudhishthir, Yavad briyeta jat haram, tabat satvam hidehinam, adikam yo bimanyeta, sasteno dandamarati. One may claim proprietorship to as much wealth as required to maintain body and soul together, but one who desires proprietorship over more than that must be considered a thief, and he desires to be punished by the laws of nature. Bhagavatam 7:14-8. Of course, we need to be maintained in eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, ahara, nidra, bhaya, maituna. But since the Supreme Lord, the Personality of Godhead, has provided these necessities of life for the birds and bees, why not for mankind? There is no need for economic development. Everything is provided. Therefore, one should understand that everything belongs to Krishna, and with this idea, one may take prasad. However, if one interferes with the allotments of others, he is a thief. We should not accept more than we actually need. Therefore, if by chance we get an abundance of money, we should always consider that it belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Krishna consciousness, we are getting sufficient money, but we should never think that the money belongs to us. It belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and should be equally distributed to the workers, the devotees. No devotee should claim that any money or property belongs to him. If one thinks that any portion of property of this huge universe belongs to anyone, he is to be considered a thief. Yes. And is punishable by the laws of nature. So you may get away with it from some mundane government, but you can't get away from the laws of God. Daivi, therefore we have this change going on in nature now. Nature is kicking back, and there's floods, and there's fires, and there's hurricanes, and there's earthquakes, and it's going on all over the world. Daivyesha gunamayi, mama maya dudatyaya. Is there somebody there wanting to come in? Oh, Leila. No one can surpass the vigilance of material nature or hide his intentions from material nature. If human society unlawfully claims that the property of the universe, either partially or wholly, belongs to mankind, all of human society will be cursed as a society of thieves and will be punished by the laws of nature. That was 1976. Text 11. Although the Supreme Personality of Godhead constantly watches the activities of the world, no one sees him. However, one should not think that because no one sees him, he does not see. For his power to see is never diminished. Therefore, everyone should worship the Supersoul, who always stays with the individual soul as a friend. Purport. Offering prayers to Krishna, Srimati Kunti Devi, the mother of the Pandavas, said, Alakshyam sarvabhutanam antarbahir avastitam. Krishna, you reside both inside and outside of everything. Yet the unintelligent conditioned souls cannot see you. In Bhagavad Gita it is said that one can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead through jnana chakshusha, eyes of knowledge. He who opens these eyes of knowledge is called a spiritual master. Thus we offer our prayers to the spiritual master with the following shloka. Om Jnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, who with the torch light of knowledge has opened my eyes, which were blinded by the darkness of ignorance. Gautamiya Tantra. The Guru's task is to open the disciple's eyes of knowledge. When the disciple is awakened from ignorance to knowledge, he can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead everywhere, because the Lord actually is everywhere. Andantarasta Paramanu Chayantarastam. The Lord resides within this universe. He resides within the hearts of all living entities, and He resides even within the atom. Because we lack perfect knowledge, we cannot see God, but a little deliberation can help us to see God everywhere. This requires training. With a little deliberation, even the most degraded person can perceive the presence of God. If we take into account whose property is the vast ocean, whose property is the vast land, and how the sky exists, how the numberless millions of stars and planets are set in the sky, who has made this universe, and whose property is it? We should certainly come to the conclusion that there is a proprietor of everything. When we claim proprietorship over a certain piece of land, whether individually or for our families or nations, we should consider how we became the proprietors. The land was there before our birth, before we came to the land. How did it become our property? Such deliberation will help us understand that there is a supreme proprietor of everything, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Godhead is always awake. In the conditioned stage, we forget things because we change our bodies. But because the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not change His body, He remembers past, present, and future. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, 4:1, Imam vivasate yogam proktavan ahamapyayam. I spoke this science of God, Bhagavad Gita, to the Sun God at least 40 million years ago. when Arjuna inquired from Krishna how he could remember incidents that had taken place so long ago, the Lord answered Arjuna that Arjuna was also present at that time. But Arjuna is Krishna's friend. Wherever Krishna goes, Arjuna goes. But the difference is that Krishna remembers everything, whereas the living entity like Arjuna, being a minute particle of the Supreme Lord, forgets. Therefore it is said, the Lord's vigilance is never diminished. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 15:15. Sarvasya chaham riddhi sanavisto matak smritir jnanam apohanam cha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, in His Paramatma feature, is always present within the hearts of all living entities. And from Him come memory, knowledge, and forgetfulness. This is also indicated in this verse by the word suparnam, which means friend. In the Shvetashvatara Upanishad 4.6, it is therefore said, Dva suparna yayaja sayuja sakaya samanam viksham parishab swajate. Two birds are sitting on the same tree as friends. One bird is eating the fruit of the tree, and the other is simply observing. This observing bird is always present as a friend to the eating bird and giving him remembrance of things he wanted to do. Thus, if we take into account the Supreme Personality of Godhead in our daily affairs, we can see Him, or at least perceive His presence everywhere. The words chakshu yasya narishati mean that although we cannot see Him, this does not mean that He cannot see us. I'll repeat that again. The word chakshu yasya narishati mean that although we cannot see Him, this does not mean that He cannot see us. Nor does He die when the cosmic manifestation is annihilated. The example is given in this connection that the sunshine is present when the sun is present, but when the sun is not present, or when cannot see the sun, this does not mean that the sun is lost. The sun is there, but we cannot see it. Similarly, although we cannot see the Supreme Personality of Godhead in our present darkness or our lack of knowledge, He is always present, seeing our activities. As the Paramatma, He is the witness and advisor, Upadrashta and Anumanta. Therefore, by following the instructions of the spiritual master and studying authorized literatures, one can understand that God is present before us, seeing everything, although we have no eyes with which to see Him. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we'll stop there. It's exactly 7:30 on the dot. Krishna's arrangement. So now we come to our stage of open mic, the open mic part of our program. Open mic means whatever you heard, anything stuck in your mind that you want to reflect upon, or that you want to discuss further, or that you want to inquire about, please be our guest. Yes, Sarva. We call Sarva our local saint, because he always says the right question.
There's this very strong theme of proprietorship in this section, and I was very struck by Prabhupada's statement. If human society unlawfully claims that the property of the universe either partially or wholly belongs to mankind, all of human society will be cursed as a society of thieves and will be punished by the laws of nature. I was just thinking how Prabhupada talked about when you go from one country to another, you have to get a passport, and the customs agents are almost like barking dogs. They feel like you're coming into our country, so you have to give us a big visa. They squeeze money out of you.
Why are you coming here? I was driving once I spent a lot of time in Europe, and I was in Italy, and I was driving along, and all of a sudden I looked around, and it looked exactly like California. I'm from California. I closed my eyes again, and I tried to visualize, this one part of California I used to drive a lot. I opened my eyes, and it was the same thing. Exactly. Same hills, same... Anyway, it was mystical. When you get out and about, you realize that it's all actually the same, same rivers, same... They go and they have to see the world because there's a little bit different rock shape than this over here, And they think that they're... And then they have to work hard their whole life, to just go and look at a rock or a different kind of building or a person that wears their hat this way instead of this way. And, and this way we live in this dream, It's amazing how strong the material energy. We should never take it for granted. The hand, goes and it does so many things, but it can't see the eye, which is directing, right? And Krishna is directing all of us, but we can't see how he's directing us. The hand can't see the eye, but the hand needs the eye to go to do these things. It's as simple as that. There's a very deep philosophy behind it, but that's the principle. And if you build your vision of what is actually reality on the basic, simple principles, and then build them through hearing the Bhagavatam all the way through, then Jnana Chakshus, as we heard in one of these purports, comes, and our eyes are open, and then you can see how the whole thing's working. And then you won't be so stupid as to think that anything belongs to you. And then you become free. Stop trying to accumulate things and get more than the other person and get a higher position than the other person. You're free. And then fear goes away. First stage of self-realization is the fear goes away. Because you know that you're not your body. Yes, Kuvera. Let's just see now, just all you youngsters, the first two persons to speak with the other two 70 years old in the room. So this is the way it's supposed to be. The oldsters have the wisdom, we don't just put them in a funny farm or something. Go ahead.
And Prabhupada has nicely described about the beginning of the creation and all the Manus. And I got a question. It says one of that Yagnamurti and Kapila, they were teaching, they were preaching about religion and knowledge. So I was wondering, is there that many people available on the earth that time? Or do they have a knowledge about the religion? I thought people were not...
that's the material conception that previous to 5,000 years nobody knew anything. They were all living in caves and they were going around going no, it's not like that.
They were teaching religion, so it's really
See, when Brahma, what happened was Lord Brahma, in the beginning of the creation, the Vedas came out of his mouth. He has 4 heads. And through each mouth came out a Veda. And these are the eternal sounds that are co-eternal with God and have the codes of how to create the universe. Just like when you want to make something, first of all you have to have a plan, you have to have a blueprint, and then it has to be put in a very special, form in order to be able to know exactly what to do. So like that, the Vedas, the original sounds, Veda means knowledge. All knowledge comes from these Vedas. Mm-hmm. And they come from the beginning of the universe. Mm-hmm. And they're distributed throughout the universe as the population increases. And in that way, yes, there were people right from the beginning who were teaching knowledge and religion. That's real history, rather than thinking that we came from a germ,
People think
or
we
by
look at the Stone Age and all this.
or by no worse than that. By chance, two atomic particles got together, and by chance they just happened to develop consciousness, and then here we are. I mean, anybody who believes that is insane, actually. That may be a strong statement, but think about it. Yes, Dr. Damodar, the father of Tamal Gopal, the youngest person in the room.
Thank you, Maharaj. Like two things. One comment, as Kubera Prabhu said, and a question. The comment about this, the life come from nothing, is kind of very much refuted now. It was a theory which was like in mid 1800, and like Louis Pasteur and other, they have did some experiment, but then those experiments were also faulty. Still one segment of the scientists, they continue to believe it's come from nothing, but recently there was a discussion on NPR, and they came to like it cannot happen that the life will come from nothing. It's always come from some other living beings. So that's kind of the refuting, like presently what we read, like it's like some biological soup from where like unicellular came, and then those are, I think, very much refuted now.
They're becoming old hats.
Right. So
well, we say we have the oldest literatures in the world, and we can save them a lot of trouble. If they just read the Bhagavatam and get educated, they can learn all these things just by like hearing. But it's true. That's why Srila Prabhupada wanted the Bhaktivedanta Institute. They just had a very nice conference in Florida where some of the devotees from around the world who are very advanced in these things are putting their heads together how to actually put the Bhagavatam into jargon that more and more educated people can actually accept and understand.
And the question I have, Maharaj, is as in the beginning you were reading in a summary for different Manus and their lineage. The question is like every faith, every preacher says something which may not be same. So how should we believe?
We're talking about 311 trillion years, or actually it's only 50 years old. So it's only 150 trillion years. So what other scriptures talk about 150 trillion years ago? They don't have anything past 5,000 years ago. That's the difference. And even they do have some truth. Even the concepts that they have brought by Jesus Christ or by Buddha or by Muhammad or other saintly persons, they can only instruct the persons around them according to what they can receive or what they're capable of receiving. And it's right there in their own scriptures. I mean, in the Bible, as Jesus said once, there's more I have to describe to you, but you can't hear it. And he also said that those who have ears hear. And there weren't very many ears at that time, and the ears weren't very deep. And in the basic sub-religious principles that are given by most of these scriptures, there are rules that are, to us, seem ridiculous. Although nowadays, as the Kali Yuga goes further and further and further, the kinds of things that they were saying don't do are now becoming more needed. Don't have sex with your mother. Who wants to have sex with their mother? No. Nobody. And if they do, they're very sick, and everybody can see that they're sick. It's clear. But that was needed because it was going on. That's why the law is there, because it was going on. So you can understand, in that culture, they're not going to be able to hear very much. But Krishna and Arjuna was extremely cultured elevated spiritual personality. You can tell just by the way he inquired from Krishna, in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, about the laws of nature and what happens when there's war and all these different things. The spiritual life or dharma or whatever you want to call it, religion, is a vast subject, and we are at different stages of development of consciousness, and according to that developed consciousness and knowledge, we can understand some of it. Just like he can't understand physics yet. Anyway, you're getting there. You will. You can't teach, physics to a first grader. And if you put a physics, student in a first grade, they'll just get bored stiff in 5 minutes, So like that, the universe is organized so that religious principles are given at times and circumstances to different groups of people as much as they can hear. And if they follow it, then they gradually go up, and then next lifetime they get a little bit more. And then it's like a bank account, and when that bank account grows in the heart, in the subtle body, then when you hear Krishna consciousness, all of a sudden, yes. I remember when I was distributing books in the airports in the 1970s, this is a long time ago, sometimes I would read part of the book to somebody in order to inspire them. And I'd meet somebody and we'd start talking and I'd listen to this and I'd read and they said, "That's it, I've been looking for this my whole life, give me that book, here, what do you want?" It was like, okay, And another person, you do the same thing. It's just like, what kind of language is this, What are you doing here, you crazy or something? And then I saw for myself, some people are ready to hear and some people are not. And I stopped being anxiety for those who couldn't, and I just kept looking for the persons who could. This process is so wonderful that even if a person who's never met a devotee or anything before, when they come in contact with a person who is actually fixed in Krishna consciousness and performing devotional service, they feel something different. All of you new people, it's funny, you can feel something, it's different. Even though you've never contacted it yet in this life, it's different. And some people, they'll go running out the door screaming, calling the police. There's some nuts over here, please come pick them up, And that's in a nutshell explained in these books in such a deep way that when you actually assimilate this book, which isn't an easy thing to do, the 18,000 verses, we just heard 12 verses. Just put this in your brain and your heart. We just heard 12 out of 18,000 verses. If you can read this book all the way through and just try to understand, and when you get to the end, you'll understand a lot more. And then start again and read it again through. And you do this sufficiently, you will have the equivalent of 10 PhDs. And you'll be able to answer anybody's question on any subject and become a spiritual leader of the world. And that was Lord Chaitanya's instruction to everyone. You too, even. Smart aleck. What, me? This is real family life. You meet people from all over the world, from all different, ages, all different levels of, culture, and all different levels of education, and we get together and we hear about this, and all of a sudden it's, hey, where have this been all my life? This is the solution. It will take time. It will take a lot of time, many, many generations for this to increase. It took 300 years for Christianity to even get started. And Prabhupada only left how many? It's only been 50 years. It's only been 50 years. And already all over the world, people are getting together like this and waking up. You know, they have this saying, are you woke? Right? Right? He's woke. Okay, he's cool. We can hear from him, you know. But they don't even know what woke means. They don't even know what it means, you know. Wake up, sleeping souls, Bhaktivinoda Thakur said. And then when you taste it, then you will not be able to taste anything else very nicely. Once you taste this, everything else tastes, I don't think so.
Vijay Lakshmi left a comment about the theories he brought up.
Go ahead. I have an appointment at 8 o'clock, Guru Bhakti. So I have to go 5 minutes.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Darwin's theory is refuted now. Life comes from life. The intelligent design theory is what is accepted now. Correct me if I am wrong.
It is by us. I know it is like Damodar, Dr. Damodar is saying. It is being accepted more and more as a possibility. But those who actually know it as a fact and know the details behind it, that's very few. Very few. It's easy to say it's not that, but to say what it is another thing. And the Srimad-Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita describes positively what it is, how we got here, etc., etc. And now, as much as I hate to do this because this is so nice, all these new Vaishnavas here, and it's just heartwarming. What can I say? Heartwarming. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Narada Muni ki jai. Shukadev Goswami ki jai. Gaur Premanandi. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow night, 6:30, same time, same place. We do this every single day, 365 days a year, except when I'm a long haul flight. That's it. Hare Krishna.